Everyone. Welcome to the third episode of MCTspaceTalks. Our topic for today is the public beaches in Muscat. Oman has been blessed with 3,000 kilometers of uninterrupted coastline. In fact, it has become a national symbol almost in all tourism-related videos. Over the years, we have seen the beaches in Muscat evolve, and today our discussion will be focused around this. Today, we will be joined by Mariam Altai, our co-founder and community coordinator. Mariam is also an award-winning architect at Khatib Al Almi and Partners Engineering Consultancy firm with 7 years of demonstrated experience in the design and construction series. And let me introduce you to my guest. My first guest is Islam Buzguenda. I hope I got that right, Islam. Islam is an award-winning architect and planner with more than 6 years of experience. She specialized in smart and sustainable city planning and research, and her realm of work extends internationally. And our final guest is Simon Montague. Simon is a freelance development consultant whose main focus is sustainable urban planning and tourism development. Additionally, amongst many other things, he's also involved in climate smart urban planning and environmental planning. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's our pleasure having all of you on board. So let's move on to our discussion now. Like I said, the discussion is focused around the public beaches in Muscat. So I prepared a few statements, few very generic statements, and I will read them out. Please raise your hands if you agree with them, and if you don't agree, it'll be evident. And we can have a discussion about that. So the first statement is there are clear boundaries between public and private beaches in Muscat. Okay, since Mariam, would you want to start first?
If I take it from a resident point of view, of someone who lives in Muscat, I see that there is a clear physical boundary actually between the beaches that are privatized and the beaches that are open for the public. There's always a kind of like a physical boundary with it. Sometimes even if you try to cross, the hotel owner or whoever can actually ask you to, get back to the zone where you should be and not where the private beach is. At least this is what I see.
Yeah, yes, Simon.
I don't disagree. I disagree with a philosophy that you have private beaches, especially beaches that were public not so long ago. All right? I mean, there's a difference between places like the Al Bustan, which has a private section on the public beach, and places like Banda Jissa, Yiti, not, the development down at Yiti. And I think that that this trend of privatizing beaches, I'm not saying about the delineation so much, but the actual fact that they are privatized, I think, is anti-public and it shouldn't happen. There you go. I worked on the very first national tourism plan for Oman. It was sponsored by the World Tourism Organization from Madrid, and we did a comprehensive tourism strategy for the whole country. And in that, this is a long time ago. This is about 1988, before some of you maybe born. But I mean, it was a very comprehensive one. WTO loved it. It was at the time when the ministry, there wasn't a ministry here, there was a Department of Tourism based in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And one of the key recommendations we were trying to make was that the beaches down the coastline from Muscat South, as it were, should not be privatized, should not be developed as private entities. They should remain as very inclusive public beaches. You can have some facilities down there, that's fine. But they were used so heavily by people from Muscat in those days that they were fantastic. And I think that element has been lost subtly over the years when more and more people had ignored the advice we gave them in the 88, 89 and have kind of gone away and privatized beaches. Now, not all of them are there. So Yeti is still open, but a lot of damage has taken place, I think, at Yeti. But places like Bandagissa, which were very accessible for a lot of people, have been kind of closed off and are now private beaches, which I think is a wrong thing, personally.
Yeah.
Can I? Yes.
Yes, please.
For me, I'm in between. I'm kind of not fully disagree and not fully agree. I mean, I have been to few hotels here in Muscat, and some of them, even if the hotel is exactly on the beach, still the beach is like, even public people, they can access the beach. Like, for example, the Intercontinental. It's not fully private for the hotel only.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, as a resident, I don't mind that some or partially the beaches to be privatized for the hotels, because when you access a beach that is somehow maintained by the hotel, I find it more appealing than accessing a beach that is open for the general public. Even you could have some privacy in the beach that is accessible by the hotel or privately maintained by the hotel. So this is my point of view.
I think that's another interesting perspective, because here I think in Oman and in Oman, because of the love for privacy that people have, everybody would like to have their own private corner in a public place. I think that kind of changes the discussion a little bit when we discuss about public spaces in Gulf in general. Okay, I'll move on.
I understand your point, Islam. But Muscat, Intercon, and the W are subtly, and the Hyatt are subtly different, because they haven't got any privacy at all for the beach. They have their own hotels with access to the beach from a gate, but they're very much public beaches outside. And I think it's a bit more, personally, I think it's a bit more of beach management.
Yeah.
And that the municipality should take more time to make sure that the beaches, and we go on to that a bit further down the question list, that they should spend more time making sure that the beaches are really well looked after, in terms of the facilities and the condition of the sand, and making sure that it's all fine. I understand, and there are one or two exceptions to what I said earlier, and I think the Shangri-La is an exception, because it was never used as a public beach ever before. You could only ever get there initially by boat. All right, and so what they have done, they've opened it up for three hotels, and they've got a beach with it. Okay, they put a lot of investment. Whereas Yeti was a community down there. They've now all been moved to a place which some people say isn't safe because of the potential for flooding. But they've been moved out of where their own homes and moved away, and with the intent of having a gated community down there. So there's a difference to me in those two things.
Yeah.
And I think Muscat Beach, the Shati Beach, all the way up to sea and things, it would be fantastic. And I think is potentially amazing, because not this year, but other years, it is just so well used by the public.
Especially at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even in the summer, I live right on the beach by the Shati Beach, and you walk out of our compound, and even in summer evenings when it's boiling hot, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, hundreds of people playing football, volleyball, walking, running, keeping fit. It's really amazing. And this time it's even better because it's kind of all day long. Anyway, so I think I don't want to talk too much.
We're,
I'm sure Romana has warned you.
towards the other topics. But anyway, I'll move on to my next statement,
Yeah.
which is a bit about inclusivity. Public beaches in Muscat feels inclusive and safe to visit at all times. Would you agree with the statement?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Islam. Do you want to, say a few things about that?
No, I feel that Muscat in general as a city is quite safe for me. I mean, I'm a resident here since more than 20 years, so it's like my home country. So I feel whenever I go, I mean, in Muscat, either beaches or anywhere within the city, generally it's safe. Even at night or early morning, it's generally safe. So beaches, I think also they are quite safe for the public, yes.
All right, so everyone agrees with that statement. Yes, Simon, would you like to add?
Yeah. I think, I just think, I totally agree with it, Islam. I think Muscat is a really safe place, for I've been off and on here for years and years and have never thought about a problem, as it were. I mean, it just feels you can walk on anywhere in the town and think it's fine. The beaches, they've even put new lights on some stretches so people can walk later into the night, so that's great. But even before the lights were put on, I think it was a very safe environment for everybody. The only concern, if you're being picky, was that there's no people that use the beach and go swimming and things in the sea, blah, blah, blah. There's no kind of safety net for those. In a lot of places in the world, you have lifeguards on duty on the popular beaches to make sure that everyone's, and sometimes here that there is a strong undertow if you go swimming in the sea. And I just think the reason I mentioned it, we went swimming yesterday and there was quite a strong undertow. My wife got hit by a wave and she went round and round in the wave. And she's fine. But there is a danger if little children were caught like that. It would be far better to have some kind of safety catch net. But that's a secondary issue, really. And I think generally, in terms of the question, I totally agree.
Maybe this leads us back to the fact that we need, as you say, better management to these public beaches.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think, Oman is blessed with 3,000 plus kilometers of coastline. It's quite varied. It goes from sandy to cliffs and there's so much variety. It is amazing. But I think in the urban areas, there is a need to kind of think about management in more active ways. Now that more and more people are here, when I first arrived, there were only 500,000 people in the country, just over that, so hardly anybody anywhere. Whereas now there's a lot more, both Omanis and non-Omanis around. And I think now is the time come to bring in more formalized things in certain places in urban areas. And, the list there talks about a few of these. And I think it needs to be rethought now is a good time to do it.
So actually, that brings me to my next statement, which is facilities provided in the public beaches need to be reevaluated. So
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you allow me, for me as a parent, when for example, I have 2 little girls, so that's why I said I rather prefer to take them to a private beach or a one that is accessible by a hotel, because you could find showers, you could easily find restrooms, you could, you don't bother to get them like from the beach directly to the house with the sand, everything. So this is why I said firstly that I agree with some private beaches, because public beaches are not very well maintained. Even they installed some showers, or I don't know, maybe restrooms, but they worked for a few months and then there is nothing there. Yeah. So this is yeah, I strongly agree that we should really maintain and reevaluate these services.
I'd also like to question, just draw the conversation a little bit. What do you think about, for instance, the urban furnitures and the lighting? Do you think these are adequate, or all of this is also included in the package?
Yeah, somehow they are. I think they are okay, good. You could have seatings, you could have some umbrellas, a few of them maybe, but we expect more. I mean, from the municipality.
Yeah, I think in one or two areas they started to do a good job. And again, I mean, Shati is one, and I think Sieb, they've done some work up there as well on the beach front.
The renovation work is excellent right now.
In Sieb.
Yes,
not down here. Here they have the basis for a fantastic beach environment. And the area where they got the grass, the coconut palm trees is fantastic. And a lot of people use it to picnic and right by the sea. There are a lot of things that they could improve. Lighting, instead of having great big spotlights, they could have more, nicer looking lights and things like that. And I think they personally, I think there should be an evaluation all the way from the Sieve down to Currum or however far you want to go down. And I personally think there should be some kind of coordinated approach to provision. So if you could walk about this stretch between the Intercon and the Hyatt, say, there are about 6 different types of dustbin, right, rubbish bin. Now, it's great to have rubbish bins, but when you're trying to make it look really appealing and functional, etc., it would be nice to have just one brand that is all along, so there's some continuity about what you're looking at, rather than there's some very big concrete ones next to some solar powered ones next to some oil drums. And I think that is what I was talking about a bit earlier, that there needs to be this reassessment of the whole beach area in the urban area. And Soha's the same. It could do with the an approach to the beaches up there, to make it look coordinated, friendly, user-friendly, etc., etc. And I think umbrellas or shade structures. There's some great shade structures out here. They're very popular. Fantastic. Children have parties.
Would you think that it would also make it very artificial if everything was copy paste? I mean, or let's say replicated. Standard design was replicated.
No. I think there's different things. There's design of the area, which you can change around and make sure that the trees are in different formats, the grass in different formats and things. But I think there is nice to have some kind of continuity of the street furniture, where it's the benches, the rubbish bins. And I just think, and there are others that share this opinion, that this strip has gone down a bit in terms of its appeal, its visual appeal, because there are so many elements in it, and that's not diverse plan urban design or whatever. That is just a bit of a mess in my book, and there should be some kind of thread of continuity. I used to work for days gone by in Dubai, a landscape company that did a lot of soft landscaping and hard landscaping, obviously. And they were adamant that there should be, you have a boundary and a boundary, and in that you should have continuity of what is in there, because otherwise your eye is all over the place. And so I don't think it would detract from it at all. And I think if you get the components right, it would be fantastic.
If I may just add, regarding the continuity, I think the reason for seeing different types of, for example, dustbins or whatever piece of urban furniture it is because the operation is not done by the same entity. And as you said, it's not coordinated. So, for example, BIA would have its own, branding or its own identity. And for example, Muscat municipality has its own identity, but it's not really coordinated. So that's why I guess we end up with different looks. And if I may also add into this is that right now we are addressing beaches like Sib or, for example, Al-Quram. But if I come back to my neighborhood, which is Al-Adaba, that beach, it is not treated the same way at all. So even when we talk about dustbins, whenever I go to Quram, they have dustbins. When I come to my beach, we always have dustbins.
But I think that's why, I mean, both the points you make are correct. One, there should be management by one entity from A to Z going through, rather than multiple players. And that's the whole problem with planning in this country at the moment, is that there's no real body with control over planning decisions. Muscat municipalities do some things, Ministry of Housing do some things, Dewan does some things, it goes on, and Bayer does some things. And I think personally, once there is one unit, it should prepare a coordinated plan from, to make Muscat stand out. It's already, some of the beaches are already using adverts globally. Right? There's an advert for P&O cruises and things that used to use Muscat. And it's great advert for Muscat, really, or for Oman. And they've got the beach outside here where they do he plays football or something, where they're all playing football. But there should be a plan that covers the whole area, and Azeba, being in the middle of that area, should have as much furniture, trees, seating, blah, 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 showers, changing rooms, etc., as everywhere else. And they should be spaced evenly, designed properly, and it would be fine. It'd be great.
It sounds like there should be a toolkit for.
Well, I think the guys who did Sieb, I think, did a good job.
Maybe
a good job.
Yeah, I think
there's a starting point. You've got a starting point from Shati, which is, I think, wonderful. Is it's open air, lots of mature trees in there now, so you have the shading and the etc. And the dappled nature of the trees, the leaves on the grass at different times of day. And so you've got stuff to start you. It's just joining it up in the Zeba and all the places up the road. That's what is needed now, to coordinate it somehow. I don't know how.
So, I mean, all of you just covered my next statement, which was all public beaches in Muscat receive equal care and attention of the municipality. I think we've heard from everyone that they I strongly disagree. There are many pockets to fill.
As Mariam said, I think Adeba is really not taking a big part in that. I don't know why. I mean, they have interesting. For example, I usually go to this. I don't know what they call it. I think Al-Adeba Park in front of the castle of the Prince of Qatar, I think, or something like that.
Where they have the pier.
Yeah, exactly. So they have done some work, but it's not really enough. I mean, you could barely sit in under 2 of the trees that are there, and the rest of the beach there is a grass also in front of the beach. There is no shading at all. So it's if you go in the day, it's really not possible to sit there. And the beach is not well maintained at all. There is no, like as I said, there's no restrooms. There is no. They recently, I think, did build some restrooms, but it's far away from the park,
the beach,
and the beach also, and there is no like shower rooms, changing, etc. All these facilities,
I agree. It needs more action.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's a municipality, I'm not sure it should be. Municipality should be in charge of maintenance, presumably. But I don't think they should be in charge of design of that. Somebody else needs to.
Yeah, I'm wondering also if for example, the beaches are, or each entity is in charge of certain beaches, or it's one entity that is in charge of all the beaches. Because, for example, why they choose to, for example, refurbish the Sib and not Al Adeba, and Qurum is like forgotten for a long time. So yeah, it's weird.
It could be that maybe in operation or even in management, it's not by the same entity, not by the same authority. I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
But imagine Seeb was done by Seeb municipality. They are
Probably.
kind of under a
Seeb
different.
municipality Seeb doesn't fall under Muscat municipality.
Yeah.
That's actually correct.
I mean, it should, because they all work together now. Seeb is part of Muscat, so it would be useful for it to take over, as it were. But that's just another point. Yeah.
So
Good.
the next statement is commercialization of the seafront in Muscat is a concern for general public. I mean, Simon has already expressed his concern for it right from the get-go. What do
It's two points of commercialization. One is the hotel situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And one is providing restaurants, coffee shops, small outlets, which I totally agree with.
Yeah,
there's a number again in this area, which, the Costas in up the road by the Intercon, what's it called? Jaharat Shati.
Jaharat Shati.
I think it must be the nicest Costas in the world. It's located right by the sea, and it's fantastic. And so I think every now and again, like they're trying to do with the waterfront now, although the waterfront building shouldn't be there. But if those are spaced regularly up and down the coast, they'll be fine. I've got no problem with that. It's just the beaches I object to.
Privatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also I do agree that there is two different commercialization. The one, for example, I agree with is the one in the Sib, Shata Sib. Now they have done this the Corniche, or what they say, and there is small coffee shops there.
Yeah. Structure, and they're waited for the owners. I mean, for the people who rent the area to come in and fill up.
But I think there is someone that are already starting. Few coffee shops. So I found that interesting, rather than it's different than privatizing the beach, because the beach is still open.
Yeah.
I mean, and even those,
but there is like a commercialization, in front. Yeah.
I think some of those are very successful, although as part of the work that we were doing recently on the ONSS, we've been trying to stipulate that building should not be too close to the sea. Right? There's a global recognition that you shouldn't build too close to the sea within so many meters of the high tide line, which in Oman they seem to have forgotten about.
This is what I would draw attention. For instance, you mentioned the waterfront. So I mean, that's waterfront is it's almost shaking hands with the sea, so to speak, and that's it's just the topic around commercialization. So yes, they have sort of become the public space managers in a way. And that public square that is in front of the building, and I think they regularly host events, which right now also there's a winter fair going on. So this was another thing I would like to. So in the end, who do you think in turn becomes the public space managers of these commercialized spaces? And I'm not talking about the hotels, minus that aspect. because that in turn connects to the beach managers that, you know, we were talking about, the necessary factor that's currently missing right now.
I think my own view on the beachfront is that if it was left just as a restaurant type facility, so linked to that public space and to the waterfront, you could probably get away with it. Putting in all those offices above puts it into a different class of building for me, and it shouldn't be there. It should be set back further away from the beach. So I think, I mean, I think it's fantastic the number of people that use that space especially on a Friday evening. It's packed with people, which in the virus terms was very clever.
It's a
but
bit of a nightmare in the COVID times, really.
We got, you know, because everyone from the beach had just moved up to that square, which was a bit unfortunate, trying to fight your way through.
And I went out there once and I had to come back immediately.
But I think, you know, when they do these things, I mean, I've got nothing against whoever, a developer, as part of a plan for the area, and there should be a plan for the area, coming along and putting in facilities. The problem they got there is that they've made it into an office building, which is wrong. It shouldn't be there. There isn't enough parking for the number of people that use it, and they're parking all over the place, you know, which is, I think, wrong. You know, if they're going to put in enough facilities for people, and they're going to encourage people to use them, they should be providing parking spaces or cycle space, you know, whatever you want to provide, but not have, you know, people parking all over the pavement so people can't walk on them. It's which is what is happening. So I think, I mean, they should be doing these things, and they just got to get them right. You know, even the one by the Intercon is a bit chaotic at times. There is so many cars coming in, and there's just not enough spaces for the number of people that want to use it. So I think that's got to come hand in hand with any study. They've got to work out the popularity. And I think that, you know, it's great to see people using the beaches in the evenings, the weekends and things, because it makes them really, you know, bouncy, vibrant places, which is what, as planners, designers, you want. You want people to use spaces. But it's just trying to work them out a bit better, I think, is needed.
And with that, we come to the last statement for today, which is public beaches in Muscat could be utilized better to generate more revenues. And here, I think I'm switching the focus a little bit, because it's more as a revenue generator instead of user. So what does the users of the beach think is what I'm interested to know.
Shall I go?
Yes, go on.
I can't keep quiet now. You started me. I think it's okay for people to make money out of the beach, providing they're providing the right facilities for the people that are using the beach and walking, for children, for adults, for adolescents, etc., etc. And there should be a variety of things which people can make money out of. Now, whether that's parking, whether that's coffee shops, whether that's something, fine, I've got no problem with that. Use it to try and generate money. I think one of the things they need to do in Oman generally is get more private sector people involved and trying to get more little things happening, and you know, little jobs, creating things. I think it's great they got all the, except it's not used properly. The, what do they call, the jet skis and things as a private sector enterprise, sometimes by the waterfront, sometimes more towards the Gulf Hotel, use those. I think, you know, that's great if more people will use them, if that's what they wanted.
Sure.
Yeah,
Personally,
exactly.
I think it's fine.
I think when you provide a good services at the beach, this is what will encourage people to use the beach, and it will lead you to a greater revenue. So when you have the basic services for utilizing the beach, and then you add to that the entertainment, coffee shops, whatever. So this is what will make a better revenue.
Yeah. So I think it's a space for, you know, that space in front of what's it, waterfront, fantastic, and it's used. There are one or two other spaces that could be created. You could have, you know, the traditional thing, fan zones for cricket or for football or whatever, to try and generate activity in certain other areas, maybe a Zebra on the beach down there. And I think, you know, all the way along, there should be different activities happening to try and encourage different people in different places, but with a view of providing income for the people providing services.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Maybe one of the things that I have seen once here in Al Mouj, although it's somehow a private beach, but something different than like coffee shops or the usual amenities. They have provided like sports that you can rent it for, like they have tents for basketball, for volleyball. They have I don't know, chaiselongs for like sunbathing. You can rent it for like 1 real, 2 real. You want to play? They could do something. I mean, other than just sitting in a coffee shop or. I mean, this is some ideas for revenues.
No, I think it's great, and I think as long as it's done in the right place, coordinated with other activities, parking, because you know, unfortunately, a lot of Oman beaches in Muscat, they're not really, the accessibility is not great, you know, from the main road system. There's one or two that are okay, but you can quickly have big traffic jams or, you know, cars and cars and cars. So spreading things is obviously the way to do it, so that you have different activities along the beach, and then you kind of spread your load, as it were. But I think the more activities, the more things happening, brilliant, really. As long as they use space behind the beach to allow the beach to maintain the public activities. I think that, you know, I think the beaches here, this beach, especially the Shati to Sea, is great, Saga. There's lots of things happen.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. This was a very interesting and a very lively discussion. Thank you very much for your contribution. Highly appreciate it.
Pleasure.
With that, we'll sign off for this episode. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much